Lamplight Audiobooks presents Harold by Catherine Cookson, narrated by Julia Barrie. Part 1. The Mohican. 1.
Why do you want to adopt him?
I stared at James Stoddart, the father of Harold, and I wanted to say, because I love him, but found that I couldn't use the word, not in front of this horde of the boy's uncles and aunts, and his grandmother and grandfather, not forgetting the outsider who was present. And to my dismay I heard myself sniff before I replied, because I am fond of him.
You wouldn't like to adopt me, Mrs. Leviston, now, would you?
The big man grinned at me, and as the titter went round the room, his mother, my dear Janet, yelled, "You, Max Flood, I warned you now, didn't I?" "Oh, Mum, Mrs. Mrs. Leviston, understands it was only a joke, don't you, Mrs. Leviston?" "Yes," I smiled at him, "it was only a joke." Then, endeavouring to bring a little lightness into the proceedings, I added, "I might have considered the proposition if you'd been smaller," only to put my foot in it through my nervousness by adding, "But no doubt I'll be adopting some part of you because you being his favourite uncle, Harold has picked up many of your sayings," which brought forth from the others a chorus of protests. "You're not his favourite uncle." "Who said you're his favourite uncle? I've seen to him time and time again." "Who took him to the zoo last week?" "Shut up! Shut up, the lot of you!" All eyes now turned towards Janet, and I was amazed yet again at how this slender woman in her 60s was able to cope with this crowd of big lumbersome men and their attendant girl-friends, so-called. Janet had become very dear to me over the past 3 years we had been together. I think she had resented me a little at first when I became the wife of her dear Mr. Nardy. This, of course, was natural, for had she not attended him since he was a baby? And later, after his mother died, she'd become his housekeeper, although only part-time, for she still had her own growing hoard to attend to. Max was the eldest, followed by Billy and Joe, the 3 of them each over 30 and divorced. Then came Maggie, Harold's mother, who 3 years ago had left her husband Jimmy Stoddart for another man, only to leave this man for yet another and go off with him to Australia. She was the only one of the family not here today. Greg and Rodney and Hilda had followed at yearly intervals. May, the youngest, was smart. She was well dressed.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?